Hey, how's it going and welcome to another video. First of all, sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. I caught a case of the you-know-what, so that put me out of commission for a little while, but I'm doing a lot better now. And yeah, this is a bit of a special video because around this time, 10 years ago, I played my first Persona game. You know, it feels weird to audibly say that, like, I got into Persona 10 years ago, a decade? Many terrifying, revelations come from that. First of all, 2012 was 10 years ago. Y'all know Mass Effect 3, that game that's 10 years old now? Y'all know Evangelion 3.0, that movie that came out almost 10 years ago? Remember when, the world was gonna end in 2012? I mean, shit, for all we know, it probably did. Has anything made sense, since the year 2012? Maybe the, logic in the simulation we're all stuck in just stopped working in 2012. But yeah, I figured to kind of celebrate the occasion, I would just take a while to talk about my experience getting into Persona, and since I think unequivocally, if you were to ask me what, fictional series has had the most impact on your life directly? Without a doubt, no question, I think it's gotta be Persona and, Megami Tensei by extension. And it all started innocently in the summer of 2012, so at the time, I was, sort of aware of Persona. Honestly, most of my knowledge of it came from, Persona 4 era waifu wars. Just from the kind of secondhand accumulation of knowledge, I knew a little bit about especially the main Persona 4 girls. And Persona had been one of those things I was wanting to check out for a while, but I didn't have a PS2, and my laptop I had at the time wasn't good enough to emulate it, so it was just one of those series where it was like, yeah, I'll check it out eventually, but sometime earlier that year, Persona 3 had gotten added to the PlayStation Store on PS3. So I was like, alright, cool, let me give this Persona thing a try. And it really was an experience, unlike anything I had ever really played through up to that point. After that first playthrough, you'll never have another first time meeting all these social link characters and, living your day-to-day life, seeing all the twists and turns of the story. There is no repeat of your first time hearing, you know, a battle theme in one of the Persona games, or, getting a new party member and seeing them awaken to their persona, and just that experience of dumping those dozens and dozens of hours into this game. It really is once in a lifetime, and yeah, that's absolutely what my, first playthrough with Persona 3 was. And I think that was something that was very exciting about Persona 3 was just how, fresh and unique it felt. Even though at the time the game was a couple of years old at that point. Persona 3 came out in 2006, so it already had a couple of years on it at that point, but you get to be an old fart like me, and things don't really feel as, fresh or new anymore. Sort of a random example, but I remember my first time playing Fallout 3 and thinking holy shit, this is such a unique experience. I've never played a game like this where you could go anywhere and if you want to, you could just kill people. And there's this huge expansive map. But yeah, that's something I remember very fondly about my kind of preteen and teenage years. It's just that experience of kind of discovering new genres and broadening my horizons and stuff, but I think something that personally for me made Persona 3 such an enjoyable experience was, ironically, the fact that, you know, a couple of months previous to playing the game, I had actually dropped out of high school. By the way, stay in school, kids, don't end up like me, but yeah, I think part of why I really gravitated towards Persona 3 was just the fact that, at the time I had been out of school for a couple of months. I had dropped out in, the winter of the previous year. And it was summer, so, you know, it had been a couple of months, and I think the sort of realization of the fact that, oh god, I'm not doing anything with my life right now is starting to kind of sink in. And so even though I was always a pretty shy, antisocial kid, even I was starting to kind of feel the side effects of oh man, I don't have any particular schedule in my life, I don't have anybody around my age to talk to. So that's something that I'll always very fondly remember Persona 3 for, is essentially being that kind of substitute for almost a normal life, right? So obviously, even though playing Persona isn't a substitute for actually going to school, I think it kind of helped to sort of fill that void of I don't know, having a sort of sense of normalcy in my life at the time. And so that's definitely a big reason why I think I have such a, like, an attachment to Persona 3. Sometimes in life you'll just have these games or shows or movies or whatever that it kind of feels like it came along at the perfect time, right? It was sort of like video game comfort food for me in a way. Yeah, I could spend all day talking about how much I love Persona 3. Like, the soundtrack was so unique and so totally different from just like my kind of preconceptions of like RPG music. You know, you think of role-playing games and you think of like the fucking Final Fantasy like victory jingle. Or you think of like Pokemon battle music or whatever it happens to be, but no, here comes crazy-ass Persona 3. You get into a random encounter and some dude starts rapping. Still to this day, my favorite video game soundtrack ever, but... And yeah, just the overall style of the game, this like 2000 sort of like gritty punk kind of energy it has is so fucking good. And especially a lot of the characters and kind of themes, like the story of Persona 3 resonated with me so much because, like I said, I had played the game at a pretty low point in my life, so... And I think it also kind of instilled this message into me that I've tried to like really integrate into myself over the years, is that at the very end of the day, even if life can get pretty fucking shitty, at the very end of the day, life is worth living and there is good to be found in life. And also this sort of like, I guess, anti-nihilist message that the game has where death is like a very unfortunate kind of part of our existence, but it's not something that should kind of tie us down and just make us think like, oh, I'm going to die eventually, so why even try? So, you know, just don't just give up, essentially. So yeah, I had finished Persona 3, and this is a sort of phenomenon that I've noticed about myself, is that at least for me, it kind of takes a little while for me to like, for it to really click just how much I loved something. I find this is something that's happened to me pretty often, is I'll finish a game or a show or whatever and I'll think, yeah, that was pretty good. But it won't be for another several weeks or sometimes even months where I kind of look back on it and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I actually like thoroughly love that. And Persona 3 was no exception. Like, I finished it, I thought, yeah, that was pretty good, but I think after I spent a while just thinking about the characters and the style of it and the music and the story and the themes, I kind of came to a realization. I was like, oh shit, wait a minute. That might have been my favorite video game ever. And here we are 10 years later and that's still the case. But yeah, it's kind of funny to look back on the sort of like ripple effect this game like really did end up having on my life, where it started off so innocent. I was like, oh yeah, I've seen a lot of people having waifu wars over this Persona stuff, like, let me give Persona 3 a try, and that ended up really instilling this message into me about not giving up and not letting the kind of occasional shittiness of life kind of like overtake you. And eventually that turned into me trying out Persona 4 and then Persona 4 Arena, and from that kind of initial like onset of me looking for people to talk about these games with, I met many of the people that I'm still friends with to this very day. Then I ended up trying like a lot of the other Megami Tensei games, like, oh yeah, I've heard this Nocturne thing is pretty good, let me give that a try, and that led to me playing Devil Survivor and SMT4 and Digital Devil Saga and so on. But God, I would love the opportunity to go back 10 years and tell, like, little me, like, hey man, alright, so, yeah, you're about to launch that Persona 3 thing, so not only is it about to be your favorite video game, but you're also going to be talking about this series, like, a lot. Like, a lot. But yeah, like, I am very grateful to Persona 3 for just the massive impact it had on my life, really. Like, my life would, like, certainly be very, very different if I never played it, and even though there's a ton of media that's had a very big effect on me, I can't really point to too much other stuff and think like, yeah, if I just never played or watched this, then like my life would be drastically different. But no, Persona 3, man, like 10 years ago, that's where it all started. So yeah, Persona's funny. It's a funny little series. It's kept me on my toes at the very least. Like, there's never been a dull moment, I could definitely say that much. Yeah, it's been a fun ride, like, beyond the sort of, like, values that it instilled into me and how it kind of changed my view on, like, existence, essentially. Persona has been fun, right? I think that's what matters most of all. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, especially a big thank you to my channel members. I don't know about y'all, I just want time to stop. At this point, it's freaking me out so bad, dude. Like, 2012 was 10 years ago? What do you mean 2012 isn't happening right now? You guys excited for the PlayStation 4? What the fuck? I love the current year 2012 and not 2022. Oh man, you know what's gonna come out this year? Borderlands 2, Far Cry 3, Diablo 3. Oh man, remember that one? The Walking Dead game, Halo 4, Fire Emblem Awakening, that 10-year-old video game? Yep, good old 2012. They don't make them like that anymore, but yeah, I'll see you guys next time.